Apannaha konjarim yonim Atma smriti vinashinim Anubhavin Ritvepyana smritihi Apannaha konjarim yonim Smriti vinashinim Haryarchananubhavena Yadgajatvepyana smritihi. Mataji's, please. Apannaha konjarim vinashinim Haryarchananubhavena Tvepyana smritihi Apannaha konjarim yonim Atma smriti vinashinim Haryarchananubhavena Yadgajatvepyanu smritihi. I'll read the word for word meaning for the previous verse also. Shri Shukaha Uvacha Shri Shukadev Goswami said, Evam, thus, Shaptva, after cursing, Gataha, left that place, Agastyaha, Agastya Muni, Bhagavan, so powerful, Nripa, O king, Sa Anugaha, with his associates, Indradyumnaha, King Indradyumna, Api, Rajarshihi, Api also, Rajarshihi, although he was a Rajarshi, Dishtam, because of past deeds, Tat, that curse, Upadharayan, considering, Apannaha, got, Konjarim, of an elephant, Yonim, species, Atma Smriti, the remembrance of one's identity, Vinashinim, which destroys, Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Archana Anubhavena, because of worshipping, Yat, that, Gajatve, in the body of an elephant, Api, although, Anusmritihi, the opportunity to remember his past devotional service. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Shukadev Goswami continued, My dear king, after Agastya Muni had thus cursed King Indradyumna, the Muni left that place along with his disciples. Since the king was a devotee, he accepted Agastya Muni's curse as welcome because it was the desire of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, although in his next life he got the body of an elephant, because of devotional service he remembered how to worship and offer prayers to the Lord. Purport. This is the unique position of a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although the king was cursed, he welcomed the curse. Although the king was cursed, he welcomed the curse because the devotee is always aware that nothing can happen without the desire of the Supreme Lord. Although the king was not at fault, Agastya Muni cursed him, and when this happened, the king considered it to be due to his past misdeeds. Tatte nukampam susamikshamaanaha. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 14, Text 8. This is a practical example of how a devotee thinks. He regards any reverses in life as blessings of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, instead of being agitated by such reverses, he continues his activities of devotional service, and Krishna takes care of him and enables him to be promoted to the spiritual world, back to Godhead. If a devotee has to suffer the reactions of his past misdeeds, the Supreme Lord arranges for him to be given only a token of these reactions. And very soon he is freed from all the reactions of material contamination. One should therefore adhere to devotional service, and the Lord Himself will very soon see to one's promotion to the spiritual world. A devotee should not be disturbed by unfortunate circumstances, but must continue his regular program, depending on the Lord for everything. The word upadharayan, considering, is very significant in this verse. This word indicates that a devotee knows what is what. He understands what is happening in material conditional life. Om ajnana timirandhasya jnananjanashalakaya chakshurun militam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padang Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Shraya Bhutale Shri Mate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratvashe Namaha. Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakhyam Namami Bhaktashaktikam. Aradhyo Bhagavan Vrajeshatanayas Tadhama Vrindavanam. Ramya Kachidupasana Vrajavadhu Vargenaya Kalpita. Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanamamalam Prema Pumartho Mahan. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhor Matamidam Tatrahadara Na Paraha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Davaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So a devotee knows what is what. So Srila Prabhupada's purports are always very interesting. In this section of the Srimad Bhagavatam, we see Gajendra being rescued by the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his returning to the spiritual world. In these two verses 11 and 12, there are three topics being discussed. One is that Agastya Muni left the ashram of Indradumna Maharaj after cursing him. Second, Shukadev Goswami describes how Indradumna Maharaj accepted that curse. He accepted it as the Lord's desire. And third, because of his uninterrupted and serious devotional service as Indradumna Maharaj, when he got the body of an elephant, he was able to remember how to offer worship and prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada has focused on the second topic, though. That is the main theme of his purport, of how a devotee accepts reversals in life. And actually, that these may appear to be reversals, but they are actually promotions. So therefore, Prabhupada says a devotee knows what is what. What is a demotion and what is a promotion? There can be different situations, and people will look at these situations differently according to their philosophy and perspectives in life. When Indra finally managed to defeat Vritrasura, Indra thought he was victorious. Of course, he was victorious even from a material point of view, only because he was assisted by Vritrasura. But Indra felt he was victorious because he won that immediate battle. But actually it was Vritrasura who was victorious, because he went on to attain the spiritual world. And Indra had to remain behind, enjoying the heavenly pleasures of the material world and to suffer thereafter. So what is a promotion? What is a demotion? What is suffering? What is good? What is bad? These are all relative terms. And a devotee has that clear spiritual intelligence to distinguish, to discriminate, and to understand what is what. The king was cursed to become an elephant. Not a very pleasant prospect for anyone. It reminds one of the curse that King Chitraketu received by Mother Parvati. He was cursed by Mother Parvati to become a demon in the next life. Mother Parvati thought that King Chitraketu had insulted or offended Lord Shiva. That was not really King Chitraketu's intention, but somehow it was perceived like that by Mother Parvati. And King Chitraketu understood to be the will of the Lord. And he accepted it wholeheartedly, without objection, without any counter-cursing, and so on. When Mother Parvati saw this, she was struck with wonder. And Lord Shiva smiled at seeing her sense of wonder. And then he enlightened her about the nature of Vaishnavas. Narayana paraha sarve na kutaschana bibhyati Svargapa Varganarkeshvapi Tulyartha Darshinaha. He says, my dear Devi, Narayana Paraha, those who are devotees of Lord Narayan or Lord Krishna, Sarve, all of them, Na Kutaschana Bibhyati, they are never afraid of any circumstance at any time. In fact, whether it is the heavenly planets, whether it is the hellish planets, whether it is a state of liberation, api tulya artha darshinaha. They see all these different circumstances, different stations of life as being equal. It's all one for them. Why so? Because their only business is to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So whether they are in hell, of course they don't go to hell, but hypothetically, even if they were sent to hell, they would still be doing devotional service there. In heaven, they would do the same. In the state of liberation, they would do the same. In Mayapur or London or Delhi or anywhere, they would do the same. Srila Prabhupada gave the example of an agricultural implement that is used in Bengal called a dheki, which is meant for threshing grains. He said, even if you take that dheki to the heavenly planets, it's still going to thresh grain, because that's the only thing it does. It's not going to sit there and enjoy somaras and all those heavenly beverages. It's going to do what it knows to do. So similarly, a devotee of the Lord will only do what he or she knows, which is devotional service. So in any circumstance, whether it is from a material point of view, favorable or unfavorable, pleasant or unpleasant, the devotee will simply serve Krishna. That's all. And in this connection, Srila Prabhupada one time narrated a humorous anecdote or a story which is quite popular in ISKCON, and I'll narrate it again. One time there was a sadhu. He was sitting with his disciples at one place. And along came a prince riding on horseback. And when the prince saw the sadhu, he thought it fit to come down and offer his respects to the sadhu and to get some blessings. So when the prince got down and he offered obeisances and asked for blessings, the sadhu blessed him by saying, Rajaputra Chiranjeevi, O prince, O son of the king, may you live a long life. The prince was very happy and went away. Soon came along a brahmachari. The brahmachari was very austere, and that was easily visible just by looking at him. So when the sadhu saw him, that the brahmachari had come to offer obeisances, because brahmacharis are very humble. So the brahmachari came, offered his obeisances and asked for blessings. And the sadhu said, Ma jiva, don't live. The disciples were a little puzzled. That's a strange benediction to give. And soon after that, a butcher came along. The butcher also had some sense of piety, despite being a butcher, because he saw the sadhu and said, let me go and offer my respects to the sadhu and get some blessings. So then the sadhu blessed him. He said, Ma jiva, ma mara. You don't live, you don't die. Now the disciples were getting even more puzzled. They were not able to figure out what the purport of these blessings was, now the reason why their spiritual master was giving such blessings. And then finally there came a Hare Krishna devotee from Mayapur. And just as all devotees from Mayapur are so ecstatic and so happy all the time and always chanting and never doing any prajalpa, so they saw this devotee coming along. And the devotee, naturally, all devotees from Mayapur are very humble. So then this devotee offered his prostrated obeisances to the sadhu. And the sadhu blessed him. He said, Jiyova Marova. You either live or you die. Now by then the devotee from Mayapur left. He had urgent services to do. Meanwhile, the disciples could not contain themselves anymore. They said, Guru Maharaj, we are really puzzled about the kind of blessings you have given. It seems very strange. Can you please explain? So he said, fine. He said, the prince is now a prince because of certain pious activities he has executed in a previous life. But having got this body and obtained facilities for sense enjoyment, he is really enjoying his senses a lot, committing sinful activity. Therefore, he is destined for some suffering and probably the hellish planets in the next life. So, in order that he not have this suffering for as long as possible, I said Ma Jiva, or rather Chiranjivi. So you live a long life, so we postpone your suffering in the next life. As far as the brahmachari is concerned, he is always very austere. And because of this austerity and his sense control and everything, so he is going to go to the spiritual world anyway. So why should the poor fellow stay here and suffer in this material world and do all this austerity? So I said, Ma Jiva, don't live, which means die. Because after he dies, he's going to go to the spiritual world. As far as the butcher is concerned, the butcher is killing animals. He is always surrounded by flesh and blood and very nasty situation. Horrible. He's living in hell. So therefore I said, Ma Jiva, don't live because you're living in hell. So when I say Ma Jiva, don't live, I'm saying that you won't be in hell at least. But the problem is, because he's committing such sinful activity, after he dies, he's going to go to hell. So I don't want him to go to hell. So I said, Ma Mara, so don't die because after you die, you'll go to hell. So whether in his life or whether after life, he's going to be in hell. So I don't want him to be in either situation. So I said, Ma Jiva, Ma Mara. And what about the devotee from Mayapur? He said, that is special. Because the devotees from Mayapur are always engaged in the service of the Lord. Whatever be the circumstances, whether there is any distress or happiness, they will always be engaged in devotional service. Therefore, it doesn't matter whether they are living or whether they die. Even after they die, whichever is their next destination, most likely it will be the spiritual world. They will continue to chant Hare Krishna and serve the Lord. So for the devotee, it doesn't make a difference. Ma Jiva or Jehova Marova. He may live or he may die. So in this way, Srila Prabhupada explained how a devotee's position and a devotee's service transcends his or her immediate situation. And this is the point that Srila Prabhupada is making here in the purport, that the devotee is always aware that nothing happens without the sanction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this case of Indradyumna Maharaj, we see the king was not really at fault. He was actually absorbed in ecstatic bliss in his meditation upon the Lord. Somehow or the other, Agastya Muni took offense. Now, this can only be understood to be the arrangement of the Lord. And as, I think we'll have to, So, it's also the arrangement of the Lord. So he understood this was the arrangement of the Lord and he was peaceful. So for a devotee, Srila Prabhupada explained, he quotes this famous verse, Tattenu kampam susamikshamanaha, very famous verse from the 14th chapter of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Tattenu kampam susamikshamano bhunjana evatma kritam vipakam hridvag bapurbhir vidadhan namaste jivetayo mukti padesa daya bhag. Brahma says, for a devotee of the Lord, what is his or her consciousness when there is suffering or when there are miseries in life? Tat means expecting, te, your, anukampa means mercy. Susamikshamanaha means earnestly hoping for. So as the devotee survives and lives through his or her life, he is always expecting the Lord's mercy. Especially bhunjana eva atmakritam vipakam. When there is misery, the devotee understands that these miseries are coming because I have performed certain sinful activities in the past. And this suffering is merely the reactions to those sinful activities. And therefore, bhunjana, I must tolerate them. I must endure them. And in the course of enduring these sufferings, I must patiently hope for the Lord's mercy to come upon me. But Brahma clarifies, it is not an idle hope. It is an active hope, in the sense that the devotee is actively engaged in devotional service even as he or she suffers the reactions or suffers the miseries of life and hopes for the Lord's mercy. Hrit, Vak, Vapuhu. Hrit means the heart, Vak means the words, and Vapuhu means the body. So by one's thoughts, one's words, and one's deeds, one constantly offers obeisances to the Supreme Lord. Jiveta, if one lives like that, Mukti Pade Sadaya Bhak. One attains Mukti Pada, the state of liberation, the position of going to the spiritual world, as a matter of right. Daya Bhak. The word Daya Bhak is a technical term that appears in the law books of Manu when he deals with the laws of inheritance. So those of you who may have studied law will surely be familiar with this term, Daya Bhak. And Sridhar Swami, the famous commentator on the Srimad Bhagavatam, has said that the word Daya Bhak implies that just as the son has to simply be alive in order to inherit the property of his father, similarly, the devotee has to be simply alive in Krishna consciousness in order to inherit the Father's property, the Supreme Lord's kingdom, in order to go back to the spiritual world. But that comes about, that is possible when this attitude or this mentality is there in the heart of the devotee. Srila Prabhupada, in some lectures on this theme, emphasizes that this mentality must persist. The idea that when there is suffering or when there are reversals, that this is Krishna's mercy, it is Krishna's gift or Krishna's blessing to me. This mentality or attitude must persist throughout life. If that is the mentality, then such a devotee is surely destined for the spiritual world. Srila Prabhupada uses the word guaranteed. Just as the son is, or nowadays of course daughter also, entitled to the property of the father. Nothing can stop it, Prabhupada says. No one can check it. So similarly, no one can check the ascent of the devotee to the spiritual world if he or she simply remains firm in the execution of devotional service. So the devotee considers this as the gift or the blessing of the Lord. Now the question may be asked, does the devotee, the pure devotee, consider suffering that comes in life as karma, as a result of karma, or does the devotee accept that as the mercy of the Lord? And the answer is both. In the verse from the Bhagavatam, which we just quoted and which Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport here, the devotee out of humility understands, yes, it's my sinful activity. I have done all this in the past and I deserve this. And as Prabhupada mentions again in the purport, Krishna gives him only a token of those reactions. To give a very simple analogy, if the devotee was gets a cut on the finger in the kitchen or something, when using the knife, one can understand that the devotee was probably, had he not been a devotee, been destined to have his head cut off with a sword or something. Just giving a simplistic example to illustrate this point that the reactions may come, but they will come as a token in very, very small quantity at Krishna's discretion. So the devotee in the position of humility will always think that it's my sinful activity that is the cause of my suffering. And Krishna is very kind upon me that he has put me in such a situation of suffering to make me more humble, to make me more tolerant, so that I can actually become a devotee. So in the course of enduring suffering, if a devotee complains and says, why is Krishna doing this to me? And says, therefore now I don't want to do devotional service anymore. What's the use? I remember one devotee who was going in a boat in a lake, and the boat capsized, and all the passengers in the boat were naturally there. In the boat, some perished. And this devotee somehow managed to get hold of a drum that had the petrol or the diesel or something. And he just managed to hold on to it and remain afloat. And because of all that, his whole body became black with all that. The suit, there was some fire and all sorts of things happened. Quite a catastrophe in one sense. And then he was complaining to the devotees, I've been doing Ekadashi, every single Ekadashi Nirjala. And I've been chanting and never missed my 16 rounds and even one day. Why did Krishna do this to me? Of course, he came back to his normal self. It's normal for us to get affected when we go through an extreme situation like this. But what Prabhupada is mentioning here is that a pure devotee would not do that. Not that a pure devotee doesn't feel the misery or the pain or the suffering, he does, but he will see this as Krishna's mercy. The devotee will never blame the Lord or find fault with the Lord for doing these things. The question then arises, then is it actually the karma that is the suffering of the devotee? And this is an interesting point. Actually speaking, since in the Bhagavad Gita Lord Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja, aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. Therefore one who surrenders unto me, I take away all his sinful reactions. From the time one surrenders to Krishna, there is no karmic reaction left. Now this is a point that is being made by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, the very fundamental verse. So what does it mean to surrender? That's a topic in itself. But in simple words, we can say, for one who follows sincerely the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga is a surrendered devotee. One who understands the goal of life, understands who Krishna is, who I am, and is sincerely under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, executing the regulative principles of devotional service, is a surrendered devotee. So, when we are surrendered devotees, there is no karmic reaction. Then why do devotees suffer? The answer is that even though the devotee is surrendered, still there are some traces of the enjoying mentality that still remains in the heart of the devotee. That has not gone yet, because the devotee has not reached the stage of perfection in Krishna consciousness. The devotee is surrendered, but is not perfect. And not being perfect means that the enjoying mentality, the separatist mentality, has not disappeared completely. In order that the devotee's heart become freed from the last traces of such an enjoying mentality, the Lord delivers this suffering in the life of the devotee. That suffering may appear to mimic the ways of karmic reaction. It may appear superficially that this is karmic reaction coming in, but actually it is not karma, it is a loving hand of the Supreme Lord in the life of that devotee. You see, why is there suffering? Sinful reactions, suffering are sinful reactions. And these sinful reactions are given by Krishna to eradicate the mentality that caused the devotee to perform that sin in the first place. So therefore, after surrendering to Krishna, if the enjoying mentality has still not disappeared from the heart of the devotee, then the Supreme Lord will give such suffering as He deems fit for the purification of that devotee. It may appear to be like karmic reaction, but it's not. So this is a very important siddhanta, a conclusion of our philosophy. Thus the devotee then accepts this as Krishna's mercy and goes on with enthusiasm in devotional service. Queen Kunti in the Srimad Bhagavatam also prays, Vipadaha santu taha shashvat tatra tatra jagat guru bhavato darshanam yat syat apunor bhava darshanam. Where she says, my dear Lord, let the calamities come into my life again and again. Because when these calamities come, I see you. And by seeing you, I will no longer see the repetition of birth and death. So Kunti Maharani sees suffering or calamity as something very welcome, as an opportunity to see the Lord, to remember Him. And this is it is a guarantee that one will not take birth again in the material world. Of course, since we are not in the position of Kunti Maharani, we cannot invite and welcome difficulties to come into life. We cannot unnecessarily go out and invite trouble in our life, thinking that this will be a good way to remember Krishna. Miseries will come of their own accord anyway, in sufficient quantity. One doesn't need to go out of one's way to attract suffering just in order to remember Krishna. So they will come. So when they come, we as devotees should cultivate this mentality that this is Krishna's mercy. The devotee, of course, uses his or her intelligence also. That if that suffering is coming about because of something that I have done wrong, let's say I've overeaten, I overeat and then get a tummy ache and say Krishna's mercy. Well, so obviously the cause is that I've done something wrong. So I must also introspect and see where my mistake is. So Krishna puts the devotee in suffering so that he may be purified of the traces of material enjoyment that may be, desires for material enjoyment that may be in his or her heart. That's the first reason why devotees suffer. Another reason why great devotees suffer, like the Brajabasis, Prahlad, the Pandavas, is that Krishna wants to glorify them. Just see how wonderful are my devotees. Despite being subject to so much difficulty, they have not let go of my lotus feet. They have remained steadfast in my devotional service. And just look at their attitude. They are not even blaming me or not blaming anyone else for this suffering. So through this suffering, the glorious qualities of the devotees are exhibited to the world. And the next reason, which follows from this reason, is that it becomes an instructive lesson for the people of the world and especially for practicing devotees. Just see how much suffering Prahlad went through, the Pandavas and the Brajabasis went through. In comparison to their suffering, my suffering is negligible. Therefore, why should I complain? Why should I be grief-stricken? Let me also accept suffering in this mood. The devotee recognizes that the suffering that he or she receives in life is only a small price to pay for ultimately receiving the personal association of the Lord in the spiritual world. Sridhar Swami, I beg your pardon, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in the commentary to the 10th canto also mentions some other interesting reasons. He says that the Lord puts the devotees, the pure devotees, in suffering to protect the confidentiality of devotional service. Because devotional service is the most precious diamond in the treasury of the Lord. The Lord has many things to offer. He can offer us elevation to the heavenly planets. He can offer us mystic powers. He can offer us material enjoyments. He can offer us so many things. But that priceless jewel in His treasury is devotional service. And He wants only those who are qualified to be able to get that. He doesn't want to reveal the secrets of devotional service to those who are not qualified. Therefore, if it became so easy, a person just takes to devotional service and everybody can see there's no karmic reaction, there's no suffering, then the atheists, everybody would have come to devotional service and taken the process very cheaply, without understanding its rarity and its glory. So Krishna wants to make it, let it remain rare and confidential. That is why the middle 6 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, which primarily deal with devotional service, are in the middle. The first 6 and the last 6 chapters are Jnana, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga. They are like coverings for bhakti. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has said, the Bhagavad Gita is like a treasure chest that is encrusted with diamonds and rubies, and inside that chest there's a precious diamond. The upper lid and the lower lids represent the first 6 and the last 6 chapters. And that precious jewel that is within that treasure chest, that is protected by the lower lid and the upper lid, that is bhakti. So Krishna wants to protect devotional service and make it accessible only to those who are qualified. Therefore He makes the sufferings of devotees mimic the ways of karmic reaction. And another interesting point that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says is that the devotees suffer in order to continue the bewilderment of the atheists. So that the atheists shouldn't, if the atheists start thinking, oh, the devotional service is so nice, even the devotees are getting free from karma. No. The atheists want to be separate from the Lord. So the Lord keeps them like that. There are many things in the Lord's pastimes which indicate how the Lord acts in a way to bewilder the atheists. The disappearance pastime of Lord Krishna, for example. That's specifically done to bewilder the atheists. So in any case, these are some of the reasons why the Lord places His pure devotees into difficulty. And when the devotees are in that situation, they remain always grateful, considering this to be the mercy of the Lord, and that actually qualifies them to be, to attain to the spiritual world. Thank you very much. We have just time for one question. Yes. Yes.
I was thinking in a situation.
Yeah, please continue. Just go on speaking.
I was thinking that if somebody happens to curse us, if
Someone appears to
happens to curse us.
curse us.
Yeah. So how do we deal with that situation? Does
If
anybody?
someone curses us,
Yeah.
how should we react?
Yeah. Because we had Srila Prabhupada.
Well,
said
let
that
us
we
hope
should-
that nobody curses us. And let us not do something that makes people curse us. But even if somebody does that, then here we have role models in front of us. We have Chitraketu Maharaj, we have Indradyumna Maharaj. So we follow in their footsteps and accept that as Krishna's mercy. And we certainly don't counter curse.
Prabhuji, Maharaj, are there such ascetics like Agastya Muni in Kali Yuga who could curse?
Well, in Kali Yuga these things don't work so much. Curses, don't work so much. So let's not worry about that. We have more important things to worry about, the three modes of nature and our mind and the material desires. I think that's more of a challenge than potential curses coming up.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay? So thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaur Premanande.